So last week, Al, you shared a story about a person in your world and their current reality. And we just shared, how it's the reality for so many of us. And
Mm.
it's this reality of being in a world where we are constantly on the go. We're constantly
hmm
doing and we're constantly feeding our minds with stuff, whether it's a
hmm
show or, social media or whatever. And so we started the conversation around the art of being still
Yeah.
and why that's important. So if you're listening today and you didn't hear us last week, we covered a couple of reasons why it's important to take these micro moments. And one of the things is that what it does is it turns the dial, it helps to turn the dial down on
Mm.
your everyday feelings of anxiety, this sort of undercurrent of constant stress we're in, the sleep struggles we have
hmm
that turns the dial down again on feelings of feeling lost and feeling like
Yeah.
we just are confused about even where we're supposed to be and who we're supposed to be and what we're supposed to be doing in our life.
Mm.
And yet it also turns the dial up
Yeah.
on so many other useful things like a sense of inner peace
Mm.
and a strength, the strength
Yeah.
to get through the busyness of
Yeah.
everyday life and how it gives us an opportunity to find hope and connection with ourselves.
Yeah.
And so we said, we decided that today we would spend a moment to just
Mm.
share with everybody what this could look like on a practical level.
Love it. And as you're sort of reflecting there, the one thing I would highlight here is that our circumstances don't change. So
Yeah,
we can turn the dial down and up to manage our day, to manage our state, to get through, or to, the circumstances don't change by putting these things
yeah,
into place. What
yeah,
changes is our capacity. What changes is our state. What changes is our energy levels. And so
yeah,
that's what's important because we know time and time again, we're going to come up against really tricky seasons in our life. We're going to have great seasons as well, of course, but we're going
yeah,
to have really hard times. And it's in those hard times that if we've got these practices, if we've got these things in place that we're going to talk about today, that will equip us for the hard times that we can get through and then look back and go, wow, we just got through what? That's amazing. And so I'm excited about today, Kath.
yeah. And as you're sharing there, I'm actually just reflecting right now because Ali, off the podcast, I was sharing with you that I am in a significantly
Yeah.
heavy season in life at the moment, and you've just helped me to recognize that without me actually even being aware,
Mm,
it's been such a gift that I have got some of these practices in place already because
yeah.
I think just by default, that's where I'm choosing to go to more.
Yeah.
I've
Wow.
noticed now in the last few days when things have been so heavy that I am taking those moments more regularly, those micro moments. I'm having more
Mm-hmm.
of them in my day.
Mm-hmm.
And you've just helped me to just actually join the dots and
Mm.
reflect back on that now. So thanks, Elle.
Mm, I'm so pleased. I'm so pleased because yeah, it's certainly not easy, hey, when we've got these tough
Yeah.
seasons. But when we've got tools and resources that we've already put in place, the brain knows to automatically go there because we know it works. That's going to keep us safe
Yeah.
and it's going to give us strength.
And I think also the brain wants to go, where we want to, we most naturally default to what is going to bring safety, certainty,
Mm-hmm,
peace, joy. You
mm-hmm,
know, we want what's pleasurable, but we naturally are drawn away from what's painful.
mm-hmm.
So you're absolutely right. It's another reason why having these practices in place are so life-giving. We often
Yeah,
talk about going where the life is, and one of the
yeah,
ways to do that is by uh, being aware of these practices.
yeah.
And so some people have called them spiritual practices. I think you were
Mm-hmm.
sharing that, yeah, you
Hmm.
were
Yeah, it's a language that
teaching on
I've
this.
certainly read, and it's in my workplace. That's the sort of languaging that we use is spiritual practices. And so today it'd be really good. Okay, well, what is this spiritual practice? What are we talking about? And also I think it'd be really good for us, Kath, to share what that does tangibly look like in our life.
Yeah, yeah. So just if you're listening and you're thinking, okay, So you've heard people talk about spirituality and
Yeah.
spiritual practices, and you think, yeah, you kind of think you know what that is, but it's still a bit vague and a little bit like,
Mm,
what is it? And
mm,
it's just interesting to just touch on that for a moment. And
mm.
so my understanding, and this is not dictionary definition, this is not textbook definition,
This
this
is
is just
Kathryn Wiseman, Dr. Kathryn Wiseman.
but it's
Yes.
also been, because I've been asked this question before a number of
Yes.
times. And
Yep.
so in my own reflections of this, what I'm think when I think of spiritual practices, for me it's a connectedness
Mm,
to a deep part of myself. And for me, it's a connection to God.
yeah.
It's part of a faith journey for me.
Mm,
And for people who choose to not have that faith journey, it's still the spiritual practice still, I think, is a combination of that slowing down to observe and connect with yourself, your
mm-hmm.
inner self, as well as the awareness of there's something bigger than me
Yeah.
in the world, and
Like
it's
the
connecting to that like
universe
higher,
or
the higher
high
power.
power.
Yeah, yeah. And for me, that is God.
Mm,
But it's the deepest part of you, and it's whatever that is that draws your heart, that fills your heart, that lights your heart. And I've also heard it being shared as it's what gives life to your breath.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
kind of, and it's intangible, so it's a difficult topic to kind of define.
Mm.
Have you got anything extra to add to that,
No,
Elle?
I was just thinking, I think when I was looking at it recently, the word spirit is like the Greek word, or don't hold me
Yeah,
to this, but for the word breath. And so
yeah,
it's intangible, but it's an experience. It's something we experience and feel deep within ourselves. And um, if we were to sit and ponder, like we can feel that connectedness. It could be in a piece of music. I don't know if you've ever sat and you've
yes,
heard this amazing and it just moved you somehow. And like it
yeah,
was deep, you didn't have words. Maybe the piece of music didn't even have lyrics. It was just this piece of music and it moved you. That is a connectedness. That is something in your spirit. That is deep.
yes,
And so yeah, I think you've said that beautifully. And the fact that it is the what fills your heart, it's the lightness, it's the life-giving part of you.
yeah, yeah.
Mm,
And I think if you're listening, you'll probably know that you know what we're talking
mm,
about.
yeah.
It's like this inner sense of, yes, I know that, but we
Inner
don't quite have
knowing.
language for it, but we
Mm,
know it's that joy.
mm,
Sometimes it's being in the presence of another person.
yeah.
Sometimes it's being seen by someone else and really heard by someone else. It's the like deep longing of your heart. And I think which goes back to that connectedness. There's a
Yeah.
connectedness in the way we've been designed and created for this longing to connect. And
Yeah.
so yes, it's connected with ourselves. And I think what we were talking about last week is the how easy it is to connect with the outside world in a way
Mm,
that's not really connecting. It's just
yeah.
busy, it's just noisy. It's
Yeah.
not so rather than sort of being on the receiving end of all this noise, is how
Mm,
do we shift the noise away, turn the noise down, and connect more to on a deeper level to your heart. And
mm,
I love your share about music because absolutely that
mm.
is something that I'm sure most of us can relate to.
Yeah.
So what else, Al? What else do you
Yeah.
do that um, is an intentional act that takes you towards that place of
Mm,
this is what this is giving me.
mm. Well, I'll share what I did this morning. Was driving, decided I'd get up early and go for a walk, and I was meeting some people, and it was sunrise time. And so the drive to the beach, which is like what, I don't know, 3 minutes.
Yeah,
And driving along, the sky was this spectacular orange and purple, and it just, just filled my heart and I would say my spirit came
yeah,
alive just seeing the sunrise, right? And then get to the where we'd get out and go for a walk and being with people, even if you're not talking to somebody, but even if you are and you're just walking side by side, it just, I don't know, it just filled my spirit so much. And just walking along and feeling connected to nature, my
Yes.
eyes felt alive because it was just so beautiful. Connected with with the people I'm walking with, connected with myself because I was being present and authentic and me. There was nothing else taking my attention. And then to go for a swim in the ocean afterwards, I was trying not to worry about crocodiles, but it was between it was in the net, so it was fine. Just add that for my mum's sake if she's listening. I wasn't being silly and swimming with crocodiles.
Yeah.
But you know, just being in this space, floating, going for a gentle swim, and just being. I couldn't think of a better way to start the day.
Oh, just listening to you, I'm like, oh man, I wish I'd started my day
Yeah,
today
why did you
like
move
that.
away? You could have been here and we could have been doing that together. So rude.
Yes, I know.
Mm.
And how, how wonderful that you have the beach just down the road, 3 minutes
Oh,
down the road.
so
What a blessing,
lucky. Yeah.
And I'm just smiling as well because for me, I mean, I think you and I connected quite often walking along
Mm.
the Strand. So it's a no-brainer that for me, getting out into nature also just does something to my soul. It just absolutely fills me up. And
Mm.
I've learned that there are seasons in time where I need to be out for a walk and whether it's a jog or a walk. These days it's more walking. In the
Yeah.
past it was running.
Mm.
But I go through seasons where I actually just don't even take anything with me. No phone,
Mm.
no podcast, no anything, and it's
Mm-hmm.
just the silence and the nature and observing. Yeah, and
Mm-hmm.
there's a spot just down the road where we are now. If I go early enough in the morning, uh, there's a break in the trees with this view, and that's exactly where the sun rises. So also,
Mm.
some mornings it's the most spectacular sunrise from that vantage point. And so it's actually quite exciting for me to think and to plan like, oh, I want to be up
Mm-hmm.
and walking so that I meet
Can
that
see
moment
that.
of the sun coming up and see it. Because again, without any languaging for it, because
Yeah.
there isn't really language for
No,
it, it just does
it's an
something
experience.
to my soul and my
Yeah.
my heart and my spirit, is
Yeah.
just,
Becomes
yeah,
alive.
it does
Mm.
become alive. So for me,
Mm.
definitely the whole theme of nature, sunrise, sunsets do the same. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a spectacular
Yeah.
world
And
when
what
we
about a
can turn off.
campfire? Sitting around a
Yes,
fire as well, hearing the crackle, seeing the flames flicker, the color, the lighting of it.
yes.
Same sort
Oh,
of thing,
yeah,
isn't it?
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Mm.
so definitely, and if you're listening and tuning in, wherever you live, you might live in the middle of a big bustling city and it's
Mm.
hard to get to these places, but it's to just ask yourself, what is it that, where can I be
Yeah.
in,
Yeah.
whether it's in nature or in, space in the world sometime where I've got access to a experience. I like that you use that word because it's an
Mm-hmm.
experience that just lights you up and fills your heart.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how when we take a moment, and it doesn't have to take long,
No.
I mean, yes, for you this morning might have taken an hour. If I
Mm.
go for an early morning walk, it's anything from half an hour to an hour.
Yeah.
But even just if I've got 10 minutes in my day to
Mm.
pop outside
Mm-hmm.
and, even just with no shoes and feel my feet on the
And feel the
grass.
sun, the rays of the
Yes,
sun sort
yeah,
of touching your
yeah.
body. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, from the research perspective, if you want to go, sort of research about it, and I'm just quoting from research I've read before, so not reading off direct research, but there's absolutely research on natural light, any light actually, but it can be natural light touching your retina, your eyes in the
Mm.
morning, how that definitely turns the dial down on stress and anxiety and feeling down. It does something to our
Our
body and
rhythm,
our,
our circadian
yeah,
rhythm, and it
yeah,
helps us to get into that rhythm and our body to know where we are, what we're doing, what time of day it is, and prepare
yeah,
ourselves for the day. The
Which
body's
is connecting,
amazing.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. As connecting with your body. Yeah. Yeah.
I'll often do that when I let the dogs out of a morning. I'll go out and stand just on the grass. Don't know what the neighbors think of me. I'm out in my jammies and just face up as the sun's coming up, feeling the warmth of the sun. And it's sort of around 5:30, 6 o'clock. Actually, it's getting dark now when I do it, but step
Yeah.
outside and just feel and experience the atmosphere around me, and it does us something in the spirit. It shifts us, and it doesn't even, I remember in Mount Isa, so when we lived in Mount Isa, it would be very easy to make excuses to not go outside. It was hot, there were flies, it was very, very red and dusty, but you know what, there were places that I loved to be.
Yeah.
There were spots that were my spot that I could go. And I loved it. I loved the red rocks in the end. Did never love the flies, of course. But yeah, it's easy for us to make excuses. It's too hot.
Yeah.
I've got to get somewhere. I think the key for this is to let's not make it difficult.
Yeah.
What does our heart need? How can we fill ourselves with life and joy and a sense of calm? Because here's the thing, when we do that, the clarity we can gain moving forward is out of this world. Like we'll have the ability to see things in a different light by taking a few minutes to be calm. Even I read something recently, there was this research, they were talking about if you're learning a new skill, right? You learn, you sit in it and do it for 20 minutes. Say you're practicing an instrument for 20 minutes
Yeah.
and you sit there for 20 minutes. The art is, so say you've got a 1 hour. Okay, I'll start again. You've got 1 hour to practice. You can either practice for 1 hour,
Yeah.
but what's better is to practice for 20 minutes, go away for 5, 10 minutes, do nothing. Don't scroll on your phone. Don't go find something to eat. Don't go make a coffee. Just go and be somewhere. Go outside, take a deep breath, go look at, I don't know, look out your window, whatever it is. And when you come back and pick up your instrument again, what happens is your brain remembers, it realizes the bits that it's forgotten. So when you come back in, you've got this whole new insight to learning your instrument that had you not paused and stepped away from it, you wouldn't have realized. So your ability to learn something new is greater when you pause. So that alone as well. Yes, the calm and all of those things, but it helps us to learn. Like
Love
the
that.
body is truly amazing. Everything we need is within us. But the thing is, it is an experience. So we
Yeah.
need to practice it. We need to get out and do it. So our body knows what to do and it can do it and it can draw on these moments.
I just love that. And I love what you're reminding us is that, taking time to be still is absolutely not being lazy. You're not being lazy by slowing down and stopping and pausing and taking time and even just sitting in a chair, like, I mean, I'm smiling at all your references to the hot and the heat and the, flies and where we are
Gosh,
now, it's actually getting really cold. And so, getting out to go and watch the sunrise, you're
you gotta
going
rug
for
up.
ocean swims and I've got a puffer jacket on. But even just, and we have winter rain, so it can be wet and cold at the same time, I've created a little spot in my house where there's a window so I can still see to outside,
Beautiful.
but it's still a place where I can go and sit and be and feel like my heart wants to sing with joy just by being in that space. And I
Hmm.
think that it's important to, whatever that looks like for you, and it doesn't
Yeah.
have to be complicated and difficult.
No.
And our encouragement is to find where you can be, where your body kind of takes a breath. To sort
Yeah.
of like, okay, I can just relax here and I
Yeah.
can just slow down and relax and be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you said before, sing with joy. Like you don't have to verbalize it. Your body can feel like it's singing with joy. That's
Yeah.
amazing. That is so
Yeah.
amazing. And I guess, so yeah, and I think it's so important to not complicate it because when we complicate it, we don't do it. We'll find
Yeah.
excuses. There's no time in the day, blah, blah, blah. And so it might be, we've already mentioned it briefly, it might be a piece of music
Yeah.
that when you hear it, wow, something about that just makes you just calm, experience the sounds. You can feel it in your bones almost. And so having that,
Yeah.
like, I've got a playlist now that's like a
Yeah.
meditative playlist so that I don't have to think about it. Oh, what should I listen to? I'm feeling a bit whatever. It's there. Bam. Ali's meditative playlist. Done.
Yeah,
I've
I've got
already
one
got it there.
too.
Have
I'm
you?
laughing now because I've got one too. And it's interesting also during different seasons of my life. I mean, it's actually, I went in the other day and deleted some stuff because, it kind of evolves as time goes. And I go through
Mm,
seasons of this is now my favorite now. And,
yeah.
there's another one. So, but yeah, constantly, and that's my go-to.
Mm,
If I'm really struggling to quieten down and find that, I absolutely, it's what helps us to pop music in and
mm,
just let that still me for sure.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, love that.
Yeah.
What else, Elle?
I'm just sitting here thinking, and I was thinking it'd be a really great thing to open it up to our listeners too, to let us know what it is that fills their heart with and causes their body to want to sing with joy. Like, what is it that you do? Because there's so many things. Like, I guess for some people, it might be gratitude journaling or some sort of
Yeah,
journaling. For
journaling, yeah.
me, sometimes, like, there's certainly seasons in my life where, yes, I've done all of that. But to me, that is somehow as well slightly different to just sitting and being. Because for me, sometimes I get caught up in what I'm writing. Like it's
Okay,
not
yeah.
always what I need. So there's certainly seasons where I've done some journaling. So music, journaling, outdoors, sunset, sunrise. I still do enjoy going for a jog. Yeah, what else is there? Just
I've
trying
got a little book. I've got a little book that
to.
I think I've actually shared it on the podcast before, but it's one of these daily reflection little books.
Okay,
And it's not long. It's like one paragraph, for each day. And
okay.
then it's got some scripture verses. And it's just so uncanny for me how often I'll open it on the date because it's dated, and I'll
Mm,
open. I don't read it every day for sure, but if
no.
it's like today, I'll go and I'll open it on today's date, and
Hmm.
and it's so uncanny how often what it says in that
It's so
paragraph
applicable.
speaks directly to my heart on that day, and
Yeah.
I just think, how did this is so
How did
weird.
that
How
person
did they
know?
know that this is what I needed to read today?
Hmm.
And so sometimes if I'm going to that quiet place inside, if it's inside and I've got my chair that I go to, that little book sits there as well. So that helps
Oh,
me to,
yeah.
um, again, focus where my brain's going to go to. Because sometimes, if I'm honest, if I'm trying to sort of the practice of being still and sit down, sometimes the easiest thing is, if there is something going on in my world that's challenging,
To
that's
ponder
exactly
it.
where my brain goes to. And
Yeah.
then before I know I've spent the time that, if I wanted to sort of take 10 minutes, I've spent the full 10 minutes ruminating and going
Yeah, of
round and round
course.
about what this person said and what I could have said and should have said and didn't say and want to do and so sometimes that just I leave that time feeling just as stressed and as buzzing in my body and I didn't really be
Didn't
still.
achieve. That's right.
No, no. So
Mm.
I find rather than also getting all worked up at like, oh, I can't do this thing and I'm struggling to just be still and why can't I do this? Rather than trying to stop the
Hmm.
buzzing or the underlying sort of anxiety or stress or whatever it is that you're caught up in the moment, I find it's easier
Something
to
there.
access that place of connection with myself and God and prayer, if, as you say, through music, through something to
Mm.
read or
Mm.
and the practice of breathing even. There's
Oh,
a lot out there on box
yes.
breathing and meditative breathing and
Yeah.
it's interesting because I've tried it from a place of, oh, this is what I should do. Everyone's saying this is what you should do.
Mm.
So, and it's just like not done anything for me. But
Wow.
I've tried it from a different perspective of, just okay, just taking that deep breath. And in my mind, when I'm doing that, it's kind of it's where prayer flows from, and then going into
Yes.
prayer.
Agreed. And there's something about it. I was in a room one time with a group of people, and we had somebody go through with us a guided breathing with some
Yes.
music. And there was probably about 130, 150 of us in this room. Wow. If you can relax enough and be focused enough and participate in that experience. It was so incredible. Not only for me personally, but to be part of a room where we were all doing the same thing. Gee, it was just, oh, so energizing. It was beautiful. So breathing 100% of the time, yes, is
Yeah, and
very
it's almost
helpful.
like being in a room where everyone is like, joyously belting out and singing the same
Even
tune,
though we're
like
silent and just breathing. It's amazing. Yeah.
lovely.
Yeah.
So I hope we've demystified, spiritual activities or, for you in some way.
Mm.
And it doesn't, we've given you, I don't know, permission to go and be creative and explore
What
and
is
see
it for
what
you?
it looks like for you and to not
Mm.
overcomplicate things. It's just
Mm-mm.
whatever you need that switches the outside noise off and allows you to connect with your heart
Mm.
and your inner sense of being and to
Yeah.
God or, our creator. Yeah,
Yeah, agreed. And if you've got some ideas that we haven't shared or thought of, let us know. We'd love to
absolutely.
hear what it is that you do because I think we've got so much to learn from one another. And
Oh, for
we'd
sure.
love to hear what your practice is, what it looks like, and how it benefits you. We'd love to hear from you. So don't be shy. Shoot us an email, flick us a comment. We'd love to hear.
Absolutely. Thanks, Elle,
Great.
for this conversation. And I'm really now inspired to go outside and go for a good walk.
Let's do that. Let's go out and get in the sun and feel its rays on our body. And yeah. All
Yeah.
right. As always, love having a chat and we'll talk again soon. Hey.
See you next week,
All right.
Elle.
Have a blessed week.